Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Highly Suspicious Podcast with Louie and Preston. My name is Louie.
My name's Preston.
We are reporting once again live from the Trap House. Before we get into the show, before we introduce our guest today, I want to issue a formal apology for something that I said last week. I called the episode Standing on Business. I ended up not standing on business with this person I was talking to. So the homie had a couple podcast appearances talking about like business and leadership and stuff. And I just kind of mentioned it as an example of what I was talking about. And in the context, it made it sound like a shot. And I did the number one thing I shouldn't do, which is listen to Preston when it comes to this stuff, who at the time was like, "Don't edit it, dude. It's just a shout out. It's just a shout out." Sorry.
It's fine.
We cleaned it up off the show.
Heard.
But on the show, too, on the record, it was my bad. I wasn't speaking like I knew what I was talking about. Okay, so we have two guests from the newly formed band Slang Words on the show today. You all want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, what's up? I'm Thomas Coombs, writer, co-producer, and guitarist for Slang Words.
And I'm Aaron Schexnayder, more or less the same.
Excellent.
Sweet.
Cool. So, do either of you all do the vocals on the album?
We both.
On the EP?
Yeah, we both do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You all didn't say vocalists. So.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
we share that role. Yeah.
So, does Zach do vocals too? He was saying that.
I thought I heard them on there.
We did a group vocal on, was it Etymology of a Slang Word? I think that's probably the only place you would hear anybody but Aaron or I.
Heard.
As far as vocals, yeah.
Cool. Alright, so if you all want to hear us talk about the EP, you are going to have to listen to later in the episode, because we are going to bury the lead like a motherfucker. If y'all are here to hear Slang Words, you're going to have to listen to the entire show. Y'all like how I do that? Because then they'll listen to the first 5 minutes, and then when we start talking about bullshit, they're like, boring, close.
Yeah. It's your show, man. We'll do what you want.
Don't say it like that. It makes it sound like you're being held captive. Whatever you want, man. Just don't hurt me.
You have us tied to these chairs right now.
Yeah, y'all can't see it. We're handcuffed to these chairs, steel chairs right now.
So here's where I want to start with this episode. So did any of you all have problems with your service earlier this week with the AT&T shit that was going on?
No.
Did you all hear about that at all?
No, I didn't.
I didn't have any issues, but apparently like half of Louisville
Do you have
didn't
AT&T?
service.
Do either of y'all have AT&T?
No.
Well, apparently, so earlier this week, everyone was fucking talking about it in town. Everyone had like the SOS thing on their data where they just weren't even getting reception at all anywhere. So that's just insane. But the reason why was because of solar flares that were going on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So I just want to open the show with, is that terrifying to anyone else that the shit that we base our entire lives on can just be taken away at a moment for some shit that we just can't even control in space?
Yeah, I've always thought about that.
Have you?
It really belittles you.
Just go back to the Stone Age
Very
Yeah.
fast, yeah.
because of a cosmic force.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's fucking insane. Like, can you imagine being without, like, any sort of communication at all?
Any electricity, dude. It takes down the grid. If there's a big enough one.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I was going to say, like, the phone service going down for a bit, it's like, we could all handle that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
A bit.
people live
A
forever. Yeah, I mean, people might wig out about be able to watch, like, 6 hours of YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if the whole electrical grid went down, we would be...
Yeah, it's bad.
Also, can we curse on this?
Yeah,
absolutely. It'd be fucking
yeah.
bad.
It'd be really fucking bad. Yeah.
If electricity went away, how quick do y'all think we'd evolve into, like, you know...
Oh, there'd be some immediate
tribalism
looting.
and fucking, you know,
But after
me
that-
versus you and eating each other and...
You just gotta be useful, alright? Like, what's your job post-apocalyptically? Like, what service can you provide that
podcasters,
the
we're
fucking,
fucked,
like,
dude.
warlords would
Dude, we're
behead you?
musicians. Like, what
Yeah,
the fuck
exactly.
are we gonna do? Yeah.
No,
Music.
perform. Because
Yeah, I guess we
YouTube,
Music is
society
useful.
craves
Get
entertainment.
some animal skins over
Some drones.
Over some
yeah.
trash cans. And just
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, I would argue that y'all would be the most important because without Spotify, everyone is going to be clamoring for whatever form of, acoustic music that they can possibly find.
Should start learning some Ed Sheeran covers for when the post-apocalypse.
For real though. No. Louis, what are you doing? Post-apocalyptic.
I don't know. I guess because I'm big, I would
You're
survive.
just a gladiator. You're just like
I would.
you'd
be
have
fighting
fight.
for entertainment.
You'd be like a guard.
I would be. The smart people would be behind me, and I'd be like, y'all aren't getting to them. I'd be a total groupie. I would be leeching off of whoever seizes power at the time.
Real. Yeah.
But without service is just like that could happen permanently. Like if the satellites just got fucked up, if the satellites just got fried because they're
Right out in space.
part of the atmosphere that's just not protected by us at all.
I think as a species, I read recently that like human development, like brain development, basically has been where it's at. We were just talking about this the other day. Brain development has pretty much like ceased since like 3,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like we even more. Than
Yeah, modern humans.
Yeah.
So we're maxed out.
Essentially, we're only like technologically evolving. So if the whole grid just
then
fried,
then we're back to where we were.
back to where we were, like
Societally, we
so
devolved
far.
back to that pretty much.
Do y'all think brains stopped developing because of society and agriculture?
Yeah, for sure.
We all just got complacent because we all just became like bankers and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there's a lot of comfort, and we just kind of depend on society.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
There's no need to adapt to any like real life, real
new
situation
issue
shit.
when you can just be like, I'll just build a tool that will circumvent this issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot more
Instead
like
of having to evolve.
kind of ethereal, like abstract thinking. Like people are creating stuff with software and just like business systems and boring shit like that. But yeah,
Stuff that objectively does not matter. If you do that sort of thing,
Coming from a
that's
business
cool.
major, that's funny.
the
if-
software thing was not bullshit. I meant the business. Whatever. I was
But
making a dumb joke.
but like what you're actually doing is nothing. What you're actually doing is optimizing
Some numbers
something
on a screen.
that optimizes something else that it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Well, back to the original question of like, if it all fell down, like those skill sets are like completely useless, right? I mean,
Completely
just,
useless.
Just absolutely moot. Like nothing.
Yeah, if you're a programmer, when all the shit goes down, it's like you're dead first day, man. I'm sorry. There's
Zero skills outside
There's
of that
nothing
realm.
you can contribute to a world without computers.
I do have a buddy that also like lifts a lot as a programmer, so he could like be in the class with you where you're like the guard or something, or like
There you go. Because the scrawny stereotypical nerd class of programmer, they're screwed.
Yeah.
They're screwed. So they're gonna have to adapt in one way or another.
Dude, what would your apocalypse weapon be? Like, what would your weapon of choice be?
Crossbow, longsword. No, I'm full of shit. I don't know.
Those
That's
are
a good
good
question.
choices. They're not bad choices.
Crossbow'd be good.
Probably
Right.
like
Solid.
something like that. Probably some like sword or a knife or something that you can reuse. Because that's the thing that you learn from Walking Dead and stuff like that is bullets run out.
Mhm.
Yeah. You can't just like go around creating new bullets. It's not a thing.
Or reusing bullets.
Right, yeah.
What's that tool the Grim Reaper walks around with? That like long.
Scythe.
Yeah,
That'd be
that would
sick.
be mine.
Strike fear into
Little
everybody
fear
else. Like,
factor,
dude,
yeah.
there's a guy with a scythe.
They would remember you for sure.
Yeah. Just like go full Negan on him, dude. Just get this like iconic weapon and just be. We all know who Negan is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For those who
I don't
don't,
know.
for some random reason, it's the Walking Dead.
Oh, okay.
One of the antagonists, really good antagonist, because you just hate his guts. Anyway, yeah, you could walk around with a scythe and just be that evil motherfucker that everyone's afraid of.
Yeah, just get something weird. Just
Something wild.
mess people out with a screwdriver. People are like, that's not even practical, but I remember who
But you're
that
doing
is.
it and it's working.
Screwdriver guy. I like it. I don't want to be the 5 billionth person using a knife Because that's just
Yeah.
white noise at that point.
Yeah, screwdriver guy has a nice ring to it.
Screwdriver guy.
Louis looks like he's got something else on the docket.
Not really.
Nah.
You all care about the Joker movie at all?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. Just came out.
Yeah, the
it's
recent
good.
one.
Yeah.
Did that
was a while
just
ago.
come out?
A couple of years
two
ago.
years. Right.
Several years.
Oh, I mean, there's the second one coming out.
Yeah,
Are they
that's
doing a sequel?
Yeah.
For sure. Oh, nice.
Oh, with Joaquin.
Yeah.
They would have to, right? Couldn't down.
Is Lady
It's a
Gaga
pretty changed though. Characters.
Harley Quinn?
So here's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So the original Joker film was made with a very stripped back budget. I think it was like $40 million in total to make the movie. The budget for Joker 2 is going to be $200 million.
Damn.
And Joaquin Phoenix is getting a crazy bag. Lady Gaga's getting a crazy bag. She's going to be Harley Quinn in it. That sounds like I'm joking if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But it's true. It's a thing. It's also going to be a musical, which I don't know how that's going to work at all.
Really?
I mean, he has like psychotic breaks that are little cutscenes throughout the first movie, so it could really just be like they got Lady Gaga in it, and they're just gonna have her having psychotic breaks where she's like singing "I'm Dancing in the Rain" while she's fucking killing people or some shit.
Yeah, or
You
something.
know?
That's a good.
Does that change in budget concern you all at all? When,
Oh, it's gonna be flashy as fuck.
Cause like,
To get Lady Gaga.
Yeah, right.
And
Alone.
secure Joaquin
That
Phoenix
alone,
again.
yeah.
but a good comparison I think is like between Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2.
Mm-hmm.
If you all have seen those movies,
Yeah.
the first Deadpool movie is very much like, it's hilarious, but part of its charm is that it's low budget and all of it's clearly, made with love. And in the second Deadpool movie, since the first one was huge, they just gave him fucking $1 billion. I don't know how much their budget actually was, but they just had all the CGI effects and they're bringing in other characters, and I liked the second one, but it just didn't hit the same for me. So I don't know. What do you think?
You're asking about the budget? And
like the
I don't know
overall-
if I have concerns. I do think it's realistic to say that they got Lady Gaga, and like that alone
They
is
had to
gonna
pay her.
be
Yeah.
I mean,
A
the
fat
higher the
paycheck.
budget, the more excited I guess I am for the movie.
It could be
I can't
good.
remember that director, but I remember like when that movie came out, there was some stuff with him, like just some behind the scenes stuff, and like how he was working with Joaquin. I remember thinking like, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it's the same director, which I'm sure it is,
Well, and
Probably
working with
gonna
an
be fine.
actor like that too, where it's like you're getting what you need out of them for the role. That alone is like
Todd
what
Phillips.
drives that movie. Really is Joaquin Phoenix like performance.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to look at it from the perspective of, oh, they're getting more money now, so it should be a better movie. But I think a lot of the time it's
Give me a
like,
prime example of when that's not the case. When it becomes worse because they're like blowing the bank on like a CGI budget.
Dude,
That's
that's what I was-
not needed or
Yeah.
some shit.
That's what I was trying to think about. Is like there has to be 3 million examples of that. I just can't think of off the top of my head of when that's happened.
Avatar.
Yeah.
Avatar 2.
That's not-
I
didn't
would
see
fully
it.
Both of them,
agree.
really. Both
Yeah.
of them are just huge CGI.
Yeah, but the first
And
one
it's
was, like,
longer.
People loved it,
You know.
right?
Yeah, like are we talking bad movies that use a lot of CGI?
He I guess you're asking
It-
like when
I think-
the second movie that had more money
Yeah,
like
ended up-
overblew it
Yeah.
and it sucked like kind of thing.
I think Avatar 2 is a good example of that.
No, for sure.
Of first Avatar movie was such a success that they're like, okay, here's $1 billion, make everything CGI,
Yeah.
and throw away any idea of what a story should be for beginning, middle, and end, because that movie was just
Yeah.
so fucking wild. It was entertaining enough, but mostly I think in like the visual stuff that they did. I think another good example that isn't movie based is like the sophomore slump as far as albums go, because like a lot of times the debut is the grassroots. We recorded this in my mom's basement and it just ended up being fire that everyone liked. And then that second album is when it's like, okay, I'm signed to Atlantic, I'm signed to Def Jam, I have a budget now,
Yeah.
so I'm getting all of these washed up producers and I'm getting all of these other artists to work with me and stuff like that, and it ends up losing part of the charm that I think there originally was there.
The rustic feel.
Yeah, the authenticity of, I mean,
You can hear the struggle, and then it's like, I'm being bankrolled now.
I mean, when you watch the first Joker, it's like, it doesn't look like a huge budget movie. Like, there's not...
Yeah, it's gritty.
It's not like a superhero movie. It's, a bunch of scenes of the Joker depressed and fucked up and having hallucinations and stuff like that.
Shitty apartment.
Yeah.
Dirty ass subways.
Mm-hmm.
Some stairs. And then, like, one studio.
Yeah.
You know?
They could have been like, okay, let's go to the actual subway in New York and film it on there.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's part of the appeal to it, though. It's just, you don't have to make the Joker a spectacle because he's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the more down to earth, I think it was mostly what connected with people other than Joaquin Phoenix just being a fucking genius at acting. Was just that it was like realistic, right? It was just like, this seems like someone who's breaking down in the modern world, and maybe he's mirroring a lot of other people's like experience, and especially in like rough parts of big cities. Like I guess it's like, I can't remember if it's supposed to be set in Gotham, right?
Gotham's
which is
inspired
New York,
by like
right?
It's inspired by Baltimore and like Golden Age Chicago.
Really?
Okay. I didn't know that.
So, I always just assumed it was New York.
It's like, and it's weird. I'm gonna show how much of a fucking nerd I am, but on the map for the DC universe, it's like, so Metropolis and Gotham are like right across a river from each other, and they're in like fucking Delaware. Like it's like, so like Philly's down here, New York's up here, and they're like right in between.
Okay.
So it makes sense like geographically as real cities.
Do you think Batman's gonna be in it? I mean, how long
That
can
would
they hold
be-
that back? I mean,
Long enough.
Yeah.
With Harley Quinn, though.
Ooh.
I don't know. Like,
I'm just saying, if they're gonna keep that storyline going, like I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't.
I mean,
I'm
he'll show it
I'm
at the
just
end.
curious as to how they're gonna get away with like, because of course by the end of the first one he's public.
Yeah,
He's
for
like
sure.
a public figure.
Yeah.
There's people like starting to like look at him as an icon and stuff.
Well, and as a character, Joker's really interesting because he doesn't have a secret identity. He is the Joker. You know, it's not like Lex Luthor where he's like pretending, oh, I'm this businessman.
Something else by day,
and then I'm secretly working with all the villains. It's, I am the bad guy, look at me. He's like trying to take the spotlight.
Well, here's my guess. I bet they're going to feature Batman in like the last one or two scenes. And then I know they're working on the
just
second,
for some hype.
the Batman.
Well, so those aren't in the same universe. There's a lot of people that think that
but
they
should
are.
be.
They should be. They're both equally gritty.
Dude, can you imagine Rob Pattinson and Joaquin Phoenix doing that, dude?
That'd be
'Cause
sick.
I really liked
That
the
would be
Batman.
awesome.
I just rewatched it actually.
No, it's really good.
That was
It's really
great.
good. And they have the same aesthetics too. That
No,
kind of
exactly.
noir,
Real
kind of
world,
dirty.
gritty, yeah.
But from what I've heard, they're not set in the same universe. So it's like,
Okay.
what Batman? Are they going to introduce a new Batman? And it's like,
They're just telling
I think
us
they
that.
should
They're
just.
setting
I
us
think
up.
they
should just
could.
keep
They
it
could.
on.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Just don't touch it, right? It's just too messy. No Batman.
I don't think that they will bring Batman in. I don't think that they should bring a new Batman in. But I do think, I was just talking about this the other day with my cousin, but just those two worlds of like the Joker and the Batman, that just goes like this to me. Like I think both of those are like gritty, realistic adaptations on the original like.
Yeah, because like Joker's so mentally ill, and then in the Batman, it's like the Riddler is a straight up domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
real world examples of a villain.
There's
You know,
the eternal question of like how do you reboot something good? Like how do you remake something in a way that stays true to the source material in some way, but also changes it enough where it's its own movie and it's not just the exact same thing. And to me, like The Dark Knight is like a perfect movie. Like the Heath Ledger one.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. And you know it's good because I watched it with my girlfriend and she loved it. And she likes no superhero movies. So I think that just like the accessibility of that one, how many twists and turns you got in there, like it's just a very well done thing. I think that this is a way to remake it of being like, it's a different interpretation. It's completely
Honestly,
different.
When it came out, like, I wasn't so sure before I watched it, but I just had to give huge props to Joaquin Phoenix for even touching the role after Heath Ledger.
For sure.
Because that's one of those performances where it's like so acclaimed,
Yeah.
and it
How do
drove
you
him.
follow that up?
It drove him insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. How the
Yeah.
fuck do you follow that up? I mean, I think it's also one of those like diagrams of, you know, it's been enough time that people are more accepting to the idea of like a reiteration.
It probably also helped that we had some terrible Jokers in between
Yeah,
that time.
exactly.
Like, what's his name?
Jared Leto.
Yeah.
Dude, poor Jared Leto, yeah. Because I like the guy. He seems like a cool guy, but he does keep...
He has good other roles, but it's, you know...
He's made some music, 30 Seconds
Yeah.
to Mars, but yeah, like, he seems like a cool dude, but he does keep... He seems like he whiffs on his acting, like, more often than not. Maybe it's
Yeah.
the project, but...
I think he just says yes to a lot of things. I think he wants to be in something really good, and, like, sure, he's dedicating himself, but that version of the Joker was just so not it.
Yeah,
He's
I,
not
that movie
a mob
just wasn't
boss.
I do almost feel bad for him because it's like, if someone comes to one of you guys and they're like, you want to be in this Suicide Squad movie in the DC
And
universe,
be the bad guy,
it's
for
like,
bad guys.
it's like the DC's version of Avengers. It's like, fuck yeah, I want to be in that movie.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He didn't know that it was gonna be fucking dog shit.
Right.
You know, it's
That's what I'm
not
saying.
Heath. Fuck, I said Heath Ledger. That's horrible.
Jared Leto.
Fuck, I should cut that out. I feel terrible. Jared Leto, it wasn't his fault for ruining the movie. Like, if he walked away from that movie and said, if he wasn't in that, and that would have been a great movie.
Mhm.
He didn't even really do anything in that movie. He was very peripheral to everything that
For
was
sure.
going
He's
on.
not like a main character. And he's not like the main antagonist either.
Did y'all ever watch the other Suicide Squad movie, the newer one?
Yeah.
I heard it was
No.
good. I haven't seen it though.
It's
that,
decent.
That first one ruined any sort of movie
Yeah.
like that for
Sometimes
me.
you just gotta watch stuff and be like, I'm here for some explosions and some action scenes, and what even is a plot?
Yeah.
I told
That was
myself
Transformers as a prime example of,
Yeah.
I just want to see some fucking explosions, man.
I
Come on.
watched Fast and Furious.
Exactly.
10.
Exactly.
I turned it off midway.
You know.
Even with that mindset going on, I was like, I can't.
Also, when they get longer over time, it's like,
Yeah.
chill out. It's some cars.
Yeah. I respect that perspective. For me, like if I want to watch something like that that's just that overblown, I will just go to the Marvel movies because honestly, like when you're talking
They
about
do it better.
they do it
Yeah.
better. They do it
Yeah.
better. And again, the story's not really there.
But they have
like,
the biggest CGI budget.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, Rob Downey Jr.'s Iron
Yeah.
Man's fucking awesome.
So
Like,
cool.
I mean, Endgame was cool. Endgame was
Yeah.
a really cool movie. Infinity War, like, cool movie.
They're doing a great job with the new Spider-Man
Yeah.
runs, No Way
yeah.
Home. And
Yeah,
Yes,
speaking
yes,
of
yeah.
like rebooting, you know, that's really a contentious role to
Yeah.
take
who's
on.
the-
Who's the best Spider-Man? You know,
I'm sticking with Toby.
Yeah, he
Like,
does
It's
both
those
well.
movies were the best. That's
well,
the
it's
thing.
like
It goes back to the actor and the project, like
Yeah.
Because I like Andrew Garfield a lot, like aesthetically and his mannerisms as Spider-Man, but those movies were bad.
he's a good Spider-Man.
Yeah, but
You
the
know.
movies were like not written very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the budget.
We
Yeah.
did an episode where we talked about No Way Home when it came out, and it's funny, it was right after the episode we had Zach on the show, but that was one of the things that we talked about where there was just this funny revisionist history where everyone was like, oh, I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I wish that he was still Spider-Man. And it's like, no one thought that. No one wanted him to keep being amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Those movies were not good.
They weren't. They weren't.
But from the perspective of me being like 10 years old when they came out, and it was like, yeah, I just want to see good guy fight bad guy and have a good time. Another example of movies like that are like the Mission Impossible movies. Have you seen any of those?
Yeah.
Bits and pieces, yeah.
Decent action.
Yeah.
You got some TNA action in there. But it's really not anything that just makes you mad where it's like they're trying to explain all this plot. They're trying to do too much. They know what the fuck they're good at. They know why people want to be.
I've always been a
Watching it
fan
movies.
of Tom Cruise on the screen at least.
He's a dedicated actor.
Not as a
Dude,
Scientologist.
Yeah.
Let's
On
go
the
down that rabbit hole.
screen, he's very just, he kind of knows what he wants, he knows how to get
Yeah.
there. He does all his own stunts,
Which
is
is
pretty cool.
insane.
He's
Nobody
a
fucking does
dedicated
that.
movie making guy. Like,
Yeah.
he
He's
is
about
a
it.
pro.
He
for
wants
sure.
the scene to be perfect.
Yeah.
Every time. That's why he does his own
And
stunts.
all of
He's
his
like, I
films-
only trust myself
I'm doing this,
to do
yeah.
this right.
His films are sweet. They're so cool. Like the new Top Gun was like, this is sweet. And
That was
Mission
good.
Impossible, pretty cool.
Did you ever see that? You didn't
What,
ever
the
see
Top
it.
Gun?
Yeah.
Nah.
It's worth it. It's.
I liked it better than the original.
Oh really? Yeah, I've only seen the OG. I didn't watch the new one.
You would probably like the new one just because it's a lot of callbacks and stuff to the original one, but it's also its own thing. which
It's
I
more
think is pretty
action
cool.
packed, I think.
Yeah,
And
for
it's
sure.
less like drama, like in a relationship drama. It's just like planes.
Yeah,
Big planes.
when I'm watching a relationship drama in a plain action movie, it's like, oh my god, please get to the point.
Yeah.
Can someone die already? Please, God.
I want to see some plane.
So, we both listened to the EP. I listened to it twice. I listened to it like a week ago when I heard that y'all were going to be on the show, and I listened to it earlier today just to prepare. What were y'all trying to do with the EP? Like, what's the point of releasing just like a 5-song thing to just like get into prime people's ears to what y'all were doing? Or
Yeah, I guess. I guess the story is like me and Thomas just wanted to make music together, and we had a studio. We lived together for a short while. I guess a long while.
About 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty long while.
Yeah, and I guess it was just kind of what can we do more than what do we want to show people.
Cool. Fun.
So
Yeah.
this was kind of the result. I guess it was a little more self-serving than it was like let's put something on a dish and hand it to people, type of thing.
That's what our platform is fucking, we want to be able to hang out and be productive at the same time. And so why not format it and market it?
Yeah.
Because this started in COVID where it was just like, this is the only motherfucker I saw. I just needed somebody to chill with, and we had some deep-ass conversations, smoking a Jeep in his fucking car, fucking listening to great music, and just, at one point we were like, I think we got something to say. I think other people need to hear it.
Cool.
I think that's the correct answer. It was a trick question you all passed. It should be for you guys and not for
Yeah.
what the audience
Who gives a fuck
thinks.
what anybody else thinks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been
If it makes you feel good, if it feels worthwhile.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
for
we
it.
had a lot of I don't know, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but we had a lot of like struggle with it as to what we wanted to do. I guess we come from different places. So a lot of the struggle was just like coming from opposite ends of the spectrum and then kind of merging that. It was a lot of fun, but it was hard too.
Sometimes stuff that's challenging is fun. Like,
Yeah.
the fun part is that it's a struggle, that
Yeah.
you have to think on it and put some work into it and make it cohesive and make it into something that you appreciate alone, you know?
Yeah.
Totally agree.
There was a lot of, especially on my end, I think I was doing a ton of overthinking, but there was a lot of conceptual headache over like, what the hell
Well, and that's
are we doing? Because we knew for sure we had like great chemistry. Like we knew that for years. We've known each other for, I don't know, 6 years at this point. Just getting together and jamming, and like for me personally, I'd never felt like just like, man, we don't even have to look at each other. We kind of just like have an instinct together and can keep rolling and rolling for, I mean, we would jam for like an hour straight sometimes. So we finally decided to do something real with it, and we come to this thing of like, kind of as he's saying, like, we both are very eclectic in our tastes, but as far as the things that really, really speak to us genre-wise, pretty different color-wise, and so it was just like, dude, what the hell are we doing? Like, what does this sound like? What kind of instruments do we bring to the table?
Yeah.
And I think Aaron at one point, like, we were listening to like Parquet Courts and Band of Four. What's that band called?
Gang of Four.
Gang of Four.
Yeah.
And just kind of listening to some post-punk stuff, and we finally he just looked at me and was like, dude, let's just do it this way. Like, let's just take the material we have and we'll kind of put it through this funnel. And yeah, that's what you hear on Slang Words.
So I'm gonna ask about your taste in a second, but I do want to kind of ask about like style-wise. I thought that the vocals were really interesting, what you all did on there. I actually saved some songs off of the EP, which that's something hard for me to do.
No,
I wouldn't tell y'all that I enjoyed your all shit if I was on some bullshit. I probably wouldn't say that it was bad, you know, if I had you
You'd
all
be tactful,
in
right?
this thing. Yeah, I would be like, yeah, you all made something. And,
Didn't they?
Yeah. But I got some Talking Heads influence a little bit vocally. Is that correct in thinking that? Or am I just listening to Talking Heads right now?
No, yeah, I think we're both big fans of David Byrne and
Cool.
that whole band. I know there's one song, The Stranger, where that little monologue, there's a Talking Head song off Remain in Light. Him talking about like shoes with no socks in cold weather. He does like a little like monologue on that song, and he's just kind of like talking.
Well, it's, you know,
And
so
that's
it's
what-
eclectic.
So
you
y'all
know,
are
to
talking
just
about
be
like the spoken word type of song on there? I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I
It is
can't.
Stranger.
Yeah,
Oh, the Remaining Light. Yeah, I can't think of the name either.
but that's kind of where that came off in Stranger.
Yeah, I would say his vocals definitely lend themselves more to that, which I loved. You know, Talking Heads is an all-timer, obviously, in that album in particular. Like, you know, we all know if we're into music, online and stuff, we know that it's an album that everyone's very happy with and inspired by. But he's just got kind of that tenor, very, like, almost theatrical.
Yes,
And,
for sure.
yeah, I don't know. There's just a lightness to it, but there's also kind of an erraticness to it. Like there's some kind of like weird energy behind it. And I think it's definitely
Screwdriver guy.
yeah, Screwdriver. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Stranger's definitely like that energy's kind of captured there. I think for sure.
So for whenever I listen to music, I need the instrumental to sound good. I need the vocals to sound good. I need something lyrics wise. Listen to a lot of this type of music. A lot of the time, I find myself bored by the vocal styles that people pick. People just try to blend in, and it's more about like the instrumentals than the actual vocals. So that song that stuck out off of the first song, that your all's vocal style was different and kind of like Talking Heads, which is why I like them. Something that we've talked about on this podcast before has been how music song length overall is getting shorter. In the streaming era, people's attention spans are shorter, so we're getting a lot more like 2-minute songs than we ever have before. And you all had like 2 pretty long songs
Yeah, like
on here.
6,
You had
7
one that
minute
was
songs,
like
which
7
is
minutes.
dedication.
The fourth song was 6 minutes, 7 minutes also. So what inspired you all to go the distance in those songs?
I think both those lengths surprised us. We didn't feel like they were that long
No, and
until we recorded them.
when we talk about it, it's like if you need the time to tell the story that you're telling, or to squeeze all of like the skill and performance into the song, then you're using the time well. But if you're doing a 5-minute song and it could have been 2 or 3 minutes,
Just jamming.
yeah,
Just
and
do
your
a
ego
solo for
stroking a
3
little bit
minutes.
because it's like you're just repeating yourself.
Yeah.
And you're not doing credit to like your format, and you should have just made it like 2.5 minute, 3-minute song. And so like with these songs, you're definitely like packing it with
For sure.
performance,
Different
with,
stuff.
variety. And some songs it's like the first half is like its own song, and then it like connects into the second half and it's its own song. But this is like cohesive, which is harder to do, honestly.
That has a lot to do, well, with Nameless in particular, which is the longest one.
Is that the second song here? I should pull up the fucking
Yeah,
track.
I think that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
second
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So that one was definitely an experiment in just taping stuff together. Because you could, and if you pay attention to it, it really could it's almost 3 different
Right.
kind of things. Like that middle passage isn't really, but I don't know, man.
Well, and that's different too, because a lot of the times it is just like 2 segments. So making it 3, there's sort of you might not notice the first switch, and then this part leads into the final third,
I love doing visual
The hand
stuff on the
visuals for a
podcast.
fucking podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one was an experiment in like what like it's linear songwriting,
Yeah.
right? Where it's not like a lot of songs that go A B C, you know
Right.
what I mean? Where it kind of all just loops together, which is great. Like there's a lot of you can still be very creative in kind of that more standardized pop like thing. But I'm just my favorite band, to go back to like my own influences, is Swans. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yeah, I've
with
listened to
You listen to Swans, yeah. So their stuff is almost egregiously long form sometimes. I think the longest song off their last album was like 45 minutes. It's not really a song though, it's like a soundtrack, right?
That's insane.
It is insane. It's crazy. But like, I don't know, man. Like, for me, that type of music where it is a little more like a soundtrack, like your mind is just being filled with images and feeling like while you're listening to it, that has really nothing else has touched me in the way that music has. And so that has obviously influenced me a lot because Nameless and Anya were started with me. So those are the two longer form songs, and that's mostly why that's the case.
So you all are both writers. Do you all write a song together? Do you all come up with stuff on your own and then come together and kind of build off of each other in that way? How does multiple writers in a group work?
That was kind of the difficulty.
I bet.
Yeah, with like how are we gonna do this? I think it worked seamlessly. Like we both had like 50-50 input on one song, which was Stranger. But the rest was kind of like either one of us approaching each other like, hey, I have this song, let's kind of decorate it. And then we'd kind of work parts out individually, but one would have most of the direction or the vocal melody, and it would we kind of give like them like the captain's wheel.
Yeah.
So one person takes the lead. Okay, that makes sense. I would assume that would be the way to do it, but
Well, and
I don't know.
that's definitely a real part of the creative process, is knowing when to let somebody else
100%.
take charge and
For
just
sure.
throw in what you can
Yeah.
and support in a way that is conducive to like a finalized version.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
the best bands definitely function that way, where it's like you may have this idea for a song, and I'm just gonna fucking kill it on the fucking bass because that's all you need from me.
Yeah.
Totally. I think that
100%.
is it has to be the art first. I mean, not to kind of sound cliche or whatever, but I think with music in particular, and probably most art forms that are collaborative, ego gets in the way of a lot.
Yeah.
Where you got one guy maybe writing primarily most of the songs or whatever, and they just want it to be their way all day long. And it's just hard to do everything yourself. You can't. I mean, unless you're just some freak genius, you can play like 12 instruments expertly, which people exist like that. You got to have collaborators, and like this project was born from just the faith in our chemistry, and so it had to be from the beginning. We got to work together. We got to listen to each other. It has to. Whatever makes the piece better matters more than any of our subjective feelings about something.
For sure.
And I learned a lot, personally, about that because I really did want to be in the driver's seat for a lot of my stuff. But, Ryan Taylor's our drummer, and Z, who isn't here, they added a lot to the record. And there was stuff where I was kind of fighting them. We're like, no, do it this way. And I'm glad that they ended up winning out on some of these decisions because they had the right instinct. And I personally learned a lot of how to collaborate during this project.
I'd imagine it's a vulnerable position to be in the driver's seat for a song, and because of that, you're the captain of the ship in a way, and it's like if this song gets fucked up, if it doesn't come out the way we want it to, it doesn't translate onto the track, then it's almost, your fault because it's your shit at the end of the day.
Yeah, it definitely feels very personal. Like it feels like you're defending a child or something like that. Probably, obviously not.
No,
quite
but
that
it's
intense.
your brainchild,
But especially if you're going to the trouble to like actually like, all right, we're doing this, we're putting this together, we're gonna perform it,
and you're
we're gonna
recording
publish
it. Yeah,
it's like you really,
Spend a lot of time with songs. How long did you all spend with this EP when you were making it?
longer than we expected to.
Yeah. The last year, I guess we finished tracking in like February of 2023, so a year ago. But 2023 was this should have really been released in like March of 2023
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. Me and Thomas both went through like a ton of changes,
Yeah.
and I'm still kind of coming out of the smoke with those changes.
Just personal life stuff.
I feel
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It happens.
So when you all listen to this music, does it sound like some old shit to you guys? Does it sound like something from a past version?
Like your
of
style's
yourself?
changed in the last year?
Stylistically, no. I still
But
dig what we've done, but it
Your
is
thoughts,
like
at least, of what was
Yeah.
going into this.
yeah, for sure. I'm kind of like my ears are tired out on it type of thing.
Yeah.
We put a lot of attention into it over the past like 2 years. We've cut like 3 songs out of the EP too, and you know we're working on those too.
Cool.
And we just wanted like a solid body of material that we
Yeah.
could kind of like give the thumbs up on and.
What makes
Forget
you
about
all want to cut a song when it's just like a lost cause type of thing?
Or when it's not cohesive to the final result.
Yeah.
Yeah, it honestly, like, it's just an instinct thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's if there's a consistent enough feeling for enough of a period of time that we're just not feeling it, like, to
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
Like you keep coming back to it with this feeling
Yeah.
of, is this right? Should
Yeah.
this stay?
Yeah, I mean, we had one song in particular that I brought to the table that we were doing, and we were like rehearsing it a lot. Like we played it live a few times that we ended up just completely dropping because it, you know, in that instance, I think I was trying to do something that was better for a different context and a different set of instruments
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I wasn't actually able to communicate exactly my vision to the rest of the band. I think was a lot of the problem. Like I think Z in particular was just like, I just don't even. It's just kind of boring. It's because that's another thing. It's like you got to be able to communicate what's in
And
your head.
accept different views on it.
Oh, for sure.
I think that's probably the number one thing about being an artist, whatever you do, is getting it from inside of your brain onto the canvas, onto the track, onto a piece of paper. It's so much harder than it looks and it seems.
Yeah.
Well, and once it's done, you know, then it's like it's been made and you're just hearing the final or seeing the final result, and it can come across as, oh, there's just innate talent and instinct and it's done and it's great, versus seeing behind the scenes and seeing, you know, debate and overthinking and restructuring, you know. So
Conflict.
I'm really curious on, like, for the structure of the EP. Was the first song, you know, was like, how did the stream of consciousness go?
The thing.
Because if you're trying to tell a specific story, so it's like,
Yeah.
maybe you start with one song, but maybe once you've recorded everything else, it doesn't fit as the beginning point, and you got to restructure. So, of, you know, what you've cut and what remains, how did that come together for this final, you know, like 5-song result?
Right. The format of the actual like track listing is funny because it's kind of like my song. I have 2 songs that are kind of like I have the captain seat on, and they're the beginning and the end, and then Thomas kind of has the body of the work, and then right in the middle is something we both like.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that till right now. That's
Yeah,
so funny.
and it's kind of like a sandwich effect of like I'm here, Thomas is like right in the middle, and then we both come right in the heart of it.
I think that definitely shows the way your all's, like, brains work together too, though. Is
It's totally
that was unintentional, but it still worked.
Yeah, I noticed that like right when we put it out, I was like, oh shit.
That's funny. I think a lot of the actual order, which by the way is very important to me, I think album creation, as far as like the artwork and the structure of it, are almost just as important as
For
the
sure.
actual content of it.
Sequencing.
Yeah, because for me, like, and I think most like big music people, they'll listen to an album. You know, like a lot of people like to put a playlist
dying
of their
art.
singles. And yeah,
We're a dying breed.
yeah,
For
for
real.
sure. I think a lot of that was informed by our rehearsals, because when we first started, which I guess was like summer of 22 or 23, I don't remember.
21.
Damn.
Dude, no fucking way. I don't believe that. That was when we started rehearsing.
Maybe it was like fall.
It was like 22.
winter.
I thought it was like almost anyway. Whatever. When
Like,
we started rehearsing,
Time doesn't matter.
we were jumped. Yeah, what is time? We jumbled around a lot with like the structure of the set, right? Because we wanted to have a similar effect where it's like we don't want to just be playing song like do do do. Like we want there to be a cohesiveness if we can find it. We're also really interested in like we really didn't, or I in particular really didn't want to end like do a song and to be like, thanks guys for coming, we appreciate it, blah, 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 and then start a new song. We wanted the whole performance to be cohesive.
Yeah.
And if we could, to have kind of these intermediary like moments where we're still playing but we're transitioning into the new song.
Yeah.
And so messing with that a lot, I think informed the what was ultimately the set list for the album.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there was some great synth work on the EP. Who does the synths?
That's all Aaron. Yep.
I appreciate it.
Aren't synths just such a cheat code in music? Like any time that there's synths in music, I'm a sucker for it. I don't know what it is, but
I've always loved, synths. And sometimes it can be like too much. I don't like just synthesizers. Yeah, please. There's a lot of like electronic music that's just electronic music, and it's cool.
Yeah.
But it
I know what you
definitely
mean.
wears me out.
yeah,
But when it's mixed in with like the band setting, they really flourish.
absolutely. Because all the instrumentals sounded great on this EP, but I think the synths are just such a like cherry on top to all of it
100%.
and take it to the next level. Because I understand, I agree for the most part about what you're saying about I don't want to listen to just synth music. I don't want that to be the only thing I'm listening to.
Yeah.
It's a little harder to kind of like put something together from that perspective. But like, yeah, I've said from the beginning, I've told him like, dude, these songs are what 50% better because of these. I mean, like, because really at the end of the day, when you strip all the because there's stuff in there that it's hard to hear unless you're really paying attention as far as like this stuff he's adding. If you strip that out from again my two songs, which are really just like these post-punk rock band songs, they just get. I mean, there's just so much less body. There's less color. There's less dynamics. There's
bare bones.
Yeah, I mean, like it could have worked, but it would have been nowhere near as cool, as good.
For sure.
That was the problem going into it too. Is he had guitars, like he was like string guy, and I had like samplers and synths.
Yeah.
So, like what?
Very different
What do we
styles.
want to do here?
And it's awesome to be able to like bring those two together because people do it. It's just
Not all the time.
Yeah.
Not very common. Not always done very well.
Yeah.
And so to like meet in the middle.
This is a song that I've asked another band that we had on here before. How does real life chemistry make musical chemistry? Do y'all see that as the same thing? Is that something that y'all had to build over time as far as like knowing what you all were doing without looking, like you all said?
I guess we're both like
y'all live together.
yeah, we
did.
lived together at
And
the time, so
how long till y'all started like having jam sessions?
it was the first before.
So like
Yeah.
we
Even
met.
better.
We met like when I was in college. That was like 6 or 7 years. It was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were buddies for a couple years before we moved in together.
Right.
So we were both music heads, whatever, talked about it all the time, and we would get together and jam. And like I said earlier, it's like I just noticed
Yeah, somebody's picking up on your
really
energy.
quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, like, to your original question, it's like I think that the chemistry that you feel with people just in general absolutely translates in that way. Ryan Taylor, for example, is one of my childhood best friends. He's someone who I love deeply. He's a really good guy. We've always gotten along. It just so happens that when we're in the room together and he's playing drums, that we understand each other.
Yeah.
Right?
They're picking up on those cues.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's absolutely a link to that, and that's absolutely what, Aaron and I experience, I feel like. Yeah.
Dope.
An unconscious.
Yeah, it's kind of like an invisible agreement.
Yeah.
At the time, or just like, cool. Like
Of
we know what we're doing.
your guitar needs this added to it, or like I get that you're trying to create this vibe or sound,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna add instinctively what I can to that same energy.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we want to pull a 180,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, cool. Guess we're going that way
Just
now.
follow suit. That's a big. I'm glad you said that because that is a lot of trust for that, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a different thing almost. Because we would do that sometimes playing live, or especially when it was just he and I in like the beginning stages when we were just making noise. I mean,
just jamming.
There's recordings of us just like literally making noise. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
But like we had no idea what the hell we were going for. And there would be moments where it's just like, I don't get it, but then I followed him, and then we went somewhere. And so that's important too.
Pretty improv is improvisational, you know, to just say yes and to a sound. Is most of your music writing that way? To say, let's start just jamming, maybe somebody comes to the table with a, you know, concept, and then just go from there, build off of each other?
I would like for that to be the formula going forward. So that's what we've been talking about, because we've already talked about again how these songs are kind of like.
And it's been a while since you recorded the CP too, so I'm sure that there's you know,
it's been a lot
some
of
changes of
and because there's Aaron's songs and Tom's songs. They're songs that we all four wrote together. That everybody wrote these songs together, but outside Stranger, the reason we put it on the EP actually wasn't originally going to be on the EP. That was not really a thought in our heads until like it was semi-recently. The reason we put that on there is because it was so weird and strange and unique and cool sounding, but also it was just a really, really pure creation from him and I together, 100%. We just had it was like some like ice storm that like blew everybody, like we didn't have to work, like it was that bad. We were just like in the studio, probably smoking pot, whatever. And we just had one of those nights where we stayed up all night and we just weirded out on this fucking thing together.
Yeah, we made that song in 6 hours or 7 hours.
Yeah. Insane.
We just made it that day. Like, we're the only two kind of performing on that thing. And we would listen to it every now and then, and we'd just be like, "This is
so cool.
This is sweet."
And
the fidelity is a little different. Like, we recorded it way more like simply because we were kind of like popping up a demo room. But it stood up with the rest of them, and
Adam McDaniel helped with his mixing. He's Drop of Sun Studios in Nashville. He helped us mix it, and it really helped because that was my worry, is that the recording you hear on the album is like the original quote unquote demo recording of that song. We tried to re-record it, but
no. And if there's that in the moment, you know, it's just happening. There's this flow of consciousness creation happening. Then you're not gonna necessarily be able to recapture that exact same version.
Exactly.
It's kind of like the sentimentality of the piece getting in the way of the like the standardization of music making,
of a final perfect draft. You know, you just went for it and made it work. Which is awesome. Like, people don't really
I'm
do
happy
that.
It's there. it's an
it adds a lot of character to the EP, which I think it's cool to put something like that on such a short little track list, because it is like an interlude, but I fucking love interludes, and I think that it does so much for just like the listening experience in general. My shit on this EP is the intro, Fish Guts. What the fuck does that mean? So here's kind of what I thought it meant, and tell me if I'm wrong. So there's fish guts in the water. It's attracting like sharks, so it's gonna get you fucked up. It's gonna get you in danger. Am I warmer, colder, Marco Polo?
Yeah, I guess you're getting a little warmer. That song is kind of about just like being in one place. Like, I've been in Louisville my whole life. Always wanted to leave. I've never really gotten to. So it's when, I don't know, I feel like there's like the chum in the water. The things that are kind of keeping me here. Like, why leave when things are simple here? I know a whole bunch of people, and like I can go and get a job.
Familiar
easily
environment.
Here. It's very familiar. It's easy. I don't really have to work for it. So I could just kind of keep swimming around the chum, or I could venture off and try to like get a bite on my own, you know? So
damn.
So that's
that adds a whole new layer for me.
So you kind of had. I mean, you had the.
In a different way though.
I love like the heavy metaphor in songwriting. So the etymology of a slang word is probably my more literal piece I've ever written, I think.
So I thought that track was interesting too. What do your all's band name mean? Like, Slang Words, what do Slang Words mean to you guys? What's the significance of that?
Originally we wanted slang.
Yeah, we really wanted to be called Slang. And
slanging.
Just slang, baby.
Slang.
Slanging them. And we just, I don't know, man. We just kind of, this is a thing with bands
Yeah.
that are in the business know this, where it's just like a lot of the good band names are fucking
For
taken.
sure.
Like they're taken, and there's not only that, but they're taken by like a dozen different bands.
Yeah.
So the rule nowadays, I've heard from other musicians, is like, well, as long as you're the one that's the most popular,
Yeah.
shows up on
No, for sure.
Spotify first.
For sure.
But like for us, it's like it just kind of hurts to be mixed into that, and to even have that problem to begin with. I don't know. Maybe we're too much of purists or something. So we.
I mean, from a business perspective, it's like you're telling people, hey, we're Slang, look us up. Is it this slang? No. Is it this slang?
right.
No.
That's a big, exactly.
Yeah, that was our
That's a problem.
Especially,
that's a problem.
It's a serious problem, especially with the way that like the industry is set up now, which
Yeah.
is so against musicians, by the way.
For sure.
It's like, go look us up, Slang. It's like 16 bands called Slang. It's like, that's not very easy.
Wanting originality isn't, a
Yeah.
bad thing either, to just say, well, it's not what we originally wanted, but at least it's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a winner right there alone.
Yeah.
It's the only one that you didn't get that huge like list of names whenever you search for it.
But also, we are interested in like lingual metaphors and stuff like that. I mean, Aaron made a point at one time, like slang words, like and that's kind of what that etymology of a slang word is about like kind of the language that you develop with people, like loved ones, like your friends, your family, and like kind of that intercommunal like conversations you have and the different words and phrases you use. It's kind of what that is. It's like, so it's
not as complex as inside jokes, but more so like only you know what I mean when I'm saying this.
Yeah, like everything through body language and humor and just playing music together.
You can read me.
We all have our different way of speaking.
Yeah. Me and my cousin grew up together, and he's like a brother to me. And whenever we'd hang out, my parents would say that we were speaking our own language because they didn't understand a fucking thing that we were talking about. But that's how you're connected to someone, right?
Yeah.
Is the specific way you speak to them. Like, I talk to Preston in a way I don't talk to, just random people. I talk to, my girlfriend or my mom different than I talk to. It's crazy. I've thought about that too, so I think that's really interesting the way you put it. What's your all's favorite slang words then? Do y'all have any?
That's funny. I don't think we meant it so literally, but
I know. Yeah, you all just gave a great complex explanation for it. I'm like, but do you all like the word fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I can't even think one off the top of my head.
Let's look at the EP. I mean, like, Fish Guts has its meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nameless, what's that about?
That honestly.
That was Thomas's demo name.
Yeah, that's such a
That's a code as well.
Yeah. That song was so funny, dude, because I mean, first off, I had very little faith in it, but we kept working on it because everyone else dug it.
Yeah.
But like the beginning part for me, like, is so pop centric that it kind of just turned me off. I don't know. We called it Nameless for a long time, but the more that we worked on it, and the more that I kind of like honed in on the lyrics and stuff, the more I realized that it's actually an appropriate name.
Yeah.
Because Nameless means that it basically is just describing my feeling of being like without a strong sense of self and not really knowing truly, like, purely who I am, and you can hear that reflected in the lyrics a little bit, where it's kind of just like I want to know who I am, and like I can't remember exactly.
No, for sure.
Off the top of my head, but
for sure.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because, like, there's a bunch of songs called Untitled, which is kind of
and that's even
similar
better
to that.
Yeah.
little better.
It ended up having an actual meaning. It's funny. Like at first it was just Nameless, and I'm like, oh shit, that actually works.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's just kind of how art works.
Yeah, the creative process.
If you're painting, it starts with a single spot on the canvas, and it's nothing, and then it develops into something.
Mm-hmm. It all leads you in a direction. Yeah.
It lives a life on its own, which I'm sure that you all felt through the writing and recording and the process like that.
Totally.
You got anything else?
I mean, we can go through the whole EP of, who's the stranger.
Dude, that's just like a really cool. I'm telling you, man, we were like on some weird.
Yeah.
We were just like on the plane.
Surely there was no name when you were just jamming out.
Dude, I mean, basically, like I walked into the room. He had put down like this. I mean, you hear it like there's this simple drum pattern, which is really cool, and then just that synth going bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And like he just showed it to me, and I sat there on the guitar for like 40 minutes writing that kooky ass riff, and he's just behind me on the ground like scribbling out this story. And like it's
insane.
like that's how this thing came to be. And so I don't know, like I guess it's talking about like the narrator. Would you say, Aaron?
A lot of it, I guess. I just kind of like,
strange?
yeah, I just kind of whipped it up. We're both working in the restaurant industry, so oftentimes
A lot of strangers.
a lot of strangers. Yeah, I'll see people wearing all types of like hats and jackets and stuff. So I kind of wanted to write a story coming from like one of these strangers and just kind of what they would see and how they would feel. And I guess I kind of went into the more, what's the word? Like disassociated. Like sometimes I can disassociate in my own ways, and kind of putting myself in that stranger's point of view.
Cool.
Which is kind of a way of like personifying that disassociation.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's like the modern terminology of like people are out here just as NPCs, and it's like, what if I'm the NPC in this situation of, shit, I'm just the guy walking up to the fucking bartender who's like the main character of his own little world.
Yeah, totally.
I'm the fucking stranger, you know?
Yeah.
I think what I gleaned from that song, and this is going to be completely different from what you all just said, which I guess is kind of the point of different interpretations.
Yeah.
But to me, it was really about like the modern like way of life in like social interactions, because it sounds like the character meets a girl and doesn't really have any crazy interaction with them. It's very mundane, and then they're just kind of questioning like, is this anything? Is it something? Is it nothing? Should I be indifferent about this interaction? And then the end of the song is talking about, he's watching TV, and then he kind of has a realization where he's like, this is fucking nothing. I'm getting nothing right now.
None of this matters.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I gleaned from that it was kind of like a modern sort of, not love story, but like a modern like story of existing in a way.
Yeah, especially like modern day and times. It kind of seems like for your everyday middle class type of person, modern existence is just kind of like chasing like a loved one and then kind of fading out to the TV.
Yeah.
And then work is in between.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like,
sure.
it's very rehearsed.
Going through the motions.
Yeah. So.
Because in a way, that's kind of taught to us by TV, because that's the story that the TV shows tell us is like, okay, the purpose of this character's life is, forging a relationship with the main love interest. And there's drama, and there's obstacles in between that, whether it be
100%.
Work, family obligations, all of that is an obstacle to the main goal, where in the series finale, they finally get the girl. After much ado, it's like, we're finally where we thought we would be in the fucking pilot.
Right.
And then you're sitting there like, okay, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Now that I finally got what I wanted, what is life?
Yeah.
I think that's funny to think about, because like I feel like I modeled some of my like personality off of just watching TV shows, because you at a certain age you emulate traits of your parent, you emulate traits of like your friends and family outside of that, but there's that third factor now of like shit that you absorb on YouTube, shit that you absorb through TV shows, Netflix, whatever. So I was just thinking about that the other day too. So It's crazy.
Arguably more pervasive and influential than the first two things you mentioned.
Yeah, because those are just
family and
like
friends.
natural occurrences versus like what you consume. There's just this innate idolization of, you know, somebody's a main character. It's who you're seeing the perspective of.
This person's
for the next,
badass
you know,
enough to have their own
half
TV
hour,
show.
or if you're binging it, the next couple hours of, all right, it's about this person's life, and then you learn about them. And especially as a kid, it's like you're just picking up on shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And just the frequency, really, of like that consumption, right? Because, like, not to, again, go down kind of a cliche rabbit hole, but the whole consumerist thing, right?
Yeah,
Where
of
it's like-
familiarity.
where we're just, like, constantly just consuming content, like media content, TV shows, whatever it is. And, I mean, you spend more time watching TV or YouTube than you do talking to your mother, right? Like, almost everybody that exists, probably.
I also think that, just building off of what you said, like, with exhibiting, like, your parents' traits, like, if I start talking like my dad at a certain age, I'm like, I don't want to talk like my fucking dad. You don't have that when you're watching this cool-ass protagonist, you know, who gets the girl and kicks ass and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have that same...
grain of salt perspective on it.
Yeah.
Of, like, you know.
Yeah. Or like when your mom tells you something, you're like, whatever, mom.
Get out of here, mom.
Yeah, man.
But when they say insightfully in a TV show, it's like, oh wow, my mind is blown. My life has changed.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get that from interactions with your parents. So
Right, and then you're back next week, and it all happens all over again.
yeah, and they unlearn the lessons that they learned in the last.
Just like me, for real.
Human behavior is definitely like it's recycled.
Yeah.
Kind of like you just behave as you've seen people behaved.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm about to have a kid, and I got to be careful about how they view the world. You know, like do I just want to give them a TV to silence them, or do I actually want to like interact with them?
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
dope.
you. Thank you.
But yeah, that's something that you'd have to think about more than any of us, of like, from the parents' perspective of like, how do I, you know, not feed into the same bullshit that I got fed through.
Yeah.
Just being sat in front of a screen, which that's how I grew up, was Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. I was just
Cartoon Network.
Flipping them back and forth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
Whoever invented the previous button,
Yeah.
right.
goated.
What a game.
Fucking not enough fucking respect.
He didn't get paid enough money. For
Exactly.
Sure.
I was thinking about how much freaking like cartoons I watched as a kid. Especially in like 5th grade. That was prime cartoon year.
For sure.
Yeah, just nothing but it. So, especially nowadays, like YouTube, handheld devices.
It's
infinite
everywhere.
content.
It's crazy.
Whatever you want, all the time.
And it's quicker too. You can just change it on a whim.
It has auto scroll.
Your brother's not like fighting you for the remote to watch something else.
Attention deficit disorder is getting more and more like diagnosed.
Yeah.
It's just like everyone has it now.
What do you think about that?
ADD, ADHD.
Just the have we
Not
talked about
everybody
that on
has
the show?
the
or
mass
have we-
diagnosis.
I
of
mean,
it?
I'm ADHD, so I mean.
Did we
I'm
talk
sure
about
we
it
have.
off the show?
Little
I
bit
don't
of
remember,
both,
but
surely.
But we've had debates before as far as like
Who actually?
whether it's just was always there, it is being diagnosed more, or if
I think it's
some of
always
our
been
society
there.
is conducive to this, you know, instant gratification.
That's kind of my thing.
One thing to the next mentality.
Yeah, and I think it's both like the culture is like kind of curating it more and more, but it's always kind of been there in us. And I don't know.
Well, and our brains are all about like pattern recognition and you know, satisfaction, and so if media is short form and you're getting a dopamine hit for every fucking video that you watch,
Right.
then the more quickly you consume content, the more your brain's like, that synapses was fucking banger. I want more of whatever that is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, we can go down this hole, but, you know, and I don't want to show my ass, you know. Sometimes I get to talking about stuff where it's like, I am not studied in this field, right? But,
that's what the show is
yeah,
about.
exactly.
But like the whole, like what you guys were alluding to, where it's like, you know, how much of it isn't actually like diagnosis that's for real,
Yeah,
like,
there's
in our
something
brain,
with
and
your
how
brain,
much of it is
yeah.
like a product of the society. I think, as with most things, it's a gray area of a little bit of both. But I think for sure, especially when you consider the way our schools are set up, and that very like industrial, like technical.
No, the modern
test-taking
school system
way.
is. I want a good factory worker.
Yeah, I want
I
someone
want a
who will
motherfucker
sit
who
down
can sit
and
there
take
for 7
orders
hours and do the exact
and
same
knows the
thing
calculations
every day for years.
Yeah. And so, obviously you're going to have, when that's the standard set, obviously you're going to have a society that's going to be like, hey, this person doesn't have that ability. They must have some kind of disorder.
Yeah.
Let's give them a drug.
Yeah.
Let's now have these big pharma companies, like, let's sell as many of these pills as humanly possible, because we're making money off of it anyway, right? And so are the other corporations that are getting these worker bee people. And so we might as well get them, as used to doing this thing as possible. So
I think that's a good way to put it, that whatever doesn't fit the mold has to be labeled nowadays. But I just think that, like, I've talked about with him, like, seasonal affectiveness disorder, which is basically just like, people are sad in the wintertime because the sun goes away and you're inside all the time. And it's like, well, fucking everyone has that. No one's happy when there's no sun and you're stuck inside all the time. Everyone has that a little bit, right?
Thomas gets that pretty bad.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Not to call you out or anything.
I do, man.
On
No,
wax.
honestly, I hate it. I think it's awful, especially here. Honestly, like we're in Louisville.
it's not even like fun. There's no snow.
There's
it's just
nothing.
fucking gray.
It's just gray and
wet.
not even
gross.
It's just
Like
wet.
January, I was down bad in January because there was like
For sure.
multiple week stretches where there was no sun.
Yeah.
And there was like a week where it was too fucking cold to go outside, so I was inside on my phone playing PlayStation, doing nothing productive, feeling fucking terrible about myself. And then there was a week where it was raining. It was a little bit warmer, but it was raining, so I still couldn't go outside. So seasonal affectiveness
2 fucking
disorder.
weeks.
Okay, you're
inside.
Yeah.
people. It's literally like biology that with sunlight you're happier.
Yeah. No,
So-
that's a perfect example of what we're talking about, honestly, because it's just it's a factor of a society and a culture that bases, positivity off of like productivity, right? It's like things are only going well when people are really like effective and useful and productive and stuff. And so like when people aren't, then it's like a problem and we have to label it as like a psychological issue. And it's like, dude, that's just like it's literally just natural.
Yeah.
Like it's just natural for this occurrence.
Another thing with like the ADD, ADHD, there are 7-year-old kids who act up in class and can't pay attention because they want to go play outside.
Yeah.
And the fucking doctors are saying that there's something wrong with their kids.
Yeah.
Guess what? They're fucking acting like 7-year-olds. They want to be outside hitting each other with sticks like fucking normal kids.
Yeah, not to
That's
mention
normal.
Yeah.
it is normal. Not to mention, like if not an expert, whatever.
Yeah,
But, like,
disclaimer.
I am not a doctor in anything. Instead of being an asshole, maybe. But dude, like you do like a cursory look at like the sociological and psychological like literature. It's like obviously, especially when you're talking about kids, like and I think boys in particular, if I'm not mistaken, dude, that's how they learn is by playing and pushing the limits,
honestly,
like physical play, and like
for all humans,
Yeah.
there are studies to confirm that if you incorporate play into learning, people pick up on that shit faster.
Yeah.
It's
how
not
it breaks.
just about it being
Today.
enjoyable.
Today, that's how I learned.
But
I got
also-
Duolingo. I've been
Yeah.
learning French
Prime
because of the
example.
There you go.
gamified experience. I want to keep learning French, but I had 6 years of French at elementary school that I learned
Didn't learn
nothing
shit.
in
Yep.
Yeah.
because it was just some dude talking French at us. And it's like, well, I don't give a fuck about this.
Yeah.
You know?
Apparently, the best way to learn a new language is through song and dance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Culture.
Yeah.
Really.
My girlfriend's a Spanish teacher right now, and
Is she cool?
she knows like different languages, and she's been exposed to like the song, like time and time again, and she does that with her students, and it's just a real thing. You know, you want to incorporate play into the learning process, regardless of age.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had 2 years of Spanish in high school. That's the stuff I learned. I remember the most was when they would get on YouTube and play Spanish hits at the
Some
time.
bangers.
It was stuff that I remembered. You
Yeah.
know, it was actually stuff that you learned from.
Yeah.
So,
For sure. Well, we went off all the way over here. That was
I know.
that was classic podcast, dude.
You know, bury the lead. Content. Tangent.
structure, for sure.
That's the format.
These guys probably need to get out of here, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't
Closing remarks?
hold it anymore.
Uh,
Y'all got
anything
anything to plug?
else?
Yeah, what's next for you guys? That's a question I should ask.
well, yeah.
That is kind of like the looming question we both have.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room.
Anything that got cut from the EP that's worth revisiting?
Maybe.
We probably not, right? It's I mean, the more I do this personally, the more I realize how not straightforward the path is.
Yeah.
As like an artist,
Not linear.
we know
for sure.
for certain we'll collaborate again
Yeah.
and continue doing that, whatever it looks like. Right now, Aaron, in fact, his solo tag is Surprised Eyes. He's on Spotify. He's had stuff published since 2016. You got
Yeah.
stuff on there? Yeah. And he's doing live performances solo right now with that. So he's focusing on that.
Yeah.
I personally have my own project as well. It's called Natural Language. I haven't published anything yet, but we're working on that. That's kind of what my focus is right now, slowly but surely. I have a pretty slow process. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so like we'll probably get that done, and eventually we'll get back in the studio and we'll jam together and find out what the next thing looks like. I think the one thing we know for sure is that we're not gonna sound probably much like this. Again.
Awesome.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely want to do like a 180. And
Yeah.
I think we both want like more texture involved. Just kind of more drone as well, more space.
Mhm.
This was very like I guess fast paced.
Mhm.
Very
Pretty
pump-
standard.
The space
Yeah.
is filled for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we want to kind of slow it down a little and just see what happens. I'm sure whatever we do next as a band will incorporate a lot of what we're doing from like our own solo
Yeah, so
stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
So we'll see what happens with that.
Awesome. It was great having y'all
Yeah,
guys
thank
on the
you for
show.
coming
That was
on.
really
Thanks
Yeah,
a
cool.
lot.
thank you so
Yeah, it was a
much.
lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Outro will be back next Thursday. We're at Highly Suspicious everywhere, and thanks for listening.
And we're gonna have the homies tagged in the description too.
Absolutely,
for sure.
of course.